Hello, welcome back. We're going to try to make this a professional operation before too long. Hi, Douglas. Hello, JD.
Over, JD.
Howdy, everybody.
I was trying to stream this to Rumble, but I get the little exclamation point. I don't know what's wrong with Rumble. It just doesn't like it every time we try it. But welcome back. It's episode 2 of this new venture experiment, talking about everything non-aviation related, which means
we both have aircraft in our back.
Yeah,
JD's the only one who got the memo.
I brought the briefing room, so
JD actually is pretty smart about this, which JD, see, it's already recognized. But we are streaming on the YouTube, I think, the correct channel on the YouTube, I hope. And we're just going to try it out, see what happens, and if it fails, it fails. If it flies, it goes. However, we're not going to talk about flying. I did fly today, though, so it's very hard for me not to talk about flying on the first day. But JD, welcome, our guest from the audience.
Thank you for having me. I'm so does that mean I'm canon to the MMU?
Correct.
The mover media universe?
Yeah, it's like The Price is Right, where they pull people from the audience and have them come on down.
I'm good with that. What do I win? Just let me know. I'll do
Just don't guess over. So tell us about yourself, sir. What is your background and why are you here?
Well, I've let's see, where do I start? My background, I was born. No, I'm just kidding. Law enforcement. I worked in law enforcement for about 15 years for multiple agencies in Southern California. So when you say that, there's tons and tons of agencies, and for the reasons of safety and security of my friends and family and everybody that I've ever worked with me, I don't really talk about the agencies I work for, but I did everything under the sun while working for those agencies. I worked, patrol. I was a field training officer. I worked gangs. I did some investigative work. Field supervisor for a little bit, and did kind of become part of the problem, as you mentioned it last episode with Hatchet. Yeah, admin. Was a range master. We talked about qualifications, and you talked about going to the range. I got to do that for many years for my agencies, and then did a little bit of tinkering as somewhat of an armorer. Never got certified, but I got to put things together and take them apart, and they still worked. So I'm assuming that was a good thing. That said, I got to enjoy a pretty lengthy career in law enforcement. Now I'm a medical administrator, but there is a possibility I may be going back. We'll see next year.
To the police?
No, there's a possibility. There is.
Wow. Were you a motor man?
Oh, see, I tease Hatchet all the time about that. I just don't look good in boots. Those knee-high boots. I'm not.
Baseball pants. He wears baseball pants. He told me that. Okay. I'm like, you really wear baseball pants? He's like, yeah, brah. I wear the baseball pants.
Yeah, I sent him a care package. I'm still waiting for mine. I don't know what happened with it.
You need to come to Louisiana so you can get fresh care packages.
Absolutely. One day.
Well, in California, maybe you can explain. Did I explain that right last week? Why is Glock? Why did California ruin Glock?
From what I understand, and the intel I received, is that Glock was already in the process of ruining itself.
Of course.
California was just a catalyst because there was a lot of lawsuits that were going to pend associated with California. That's what I heard. But from what I understand, it's not our fault. It was already going to happen. We just pushed the car over the embankment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Grandma off the cliff is what happens.
Yep, that's what happens.
I've seen the commercials. Well, thank you for that. My Glocks are all worth a lot more now, but I can't show them on the stream because that's how we got banned from YouTube last time.
What about a picture? Like if you just took
that email was pretty nasty. And it's funny on the Mover and Gonky show, somebody like commented that I was exaggerating, that it wasn't 15 minutes. And I was like, here's the email where it happened at 13 minutes into the stream and said, you've been banned. Right, Douglas?
Yep.
And for us viewers, we were like, what just happened?
Oh, right. Yes.
Everything went black.
That's why we.
Yep. I always.
I could tell because I was in mid comment. in the chat, and it was like I got a timestamp.
I thought it was the episode of The Sopranos, and Mover got whacked. It's just like everything went to black.
Not yet. I have gotten death.
Nobody really knows what happened.
Right.
Yeah, that is a possibility, but not today. Well, cool. So you did SWAT.
I was the SRT coordinator, and I helped with some of our regional teams. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when Hatchet's talking about SWAT bubbles, are you like?
It's a little
shady?
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us some detail. What does an SRT coordinator do? First, tell the people what SRT means.
It's the small agency equivalency of SWAT. It's special response teams, and we're usually a regional response team.
Fast Dodge Charger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like you guys serve multiple agencies or just multiple regions?
Multiple agencies get together and have one team. So anytime there's something that needs to be, obviously, like a search warrants, or if you're actually have a call out, you have a group that's on call. They all respond at one given time, and then you respond as a multi-agency task force.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And that's usually for agencies that, for like example, one of my agencies that I work for, we only had 55 total officers in the entire department. So you may have a team of 3 or 4 that are SRT or SWAT certified that are part of the team.
That's what San Diego calls their. Like San Diego Sheriff, right? They're SR. They're not SWAT. They're like special whatever.
Special response teams. Yeah, I think LA County Sheriff's Department does the same thing.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So do you guys, when we talk 10 codes, because you were asking me about that via the comments last time, I was watching Chips.
Do. Adam Boy, Charles.
Well, see, that one I'm not going to talk about, but like the actual 10 codes, I hear like Ponch and John go 1097, and I'm like, that's. It means arrived on scene. That's what we say. Like
that's still the same. Yep.
Yeah.
1098, you're on duty. 1097.
Oh no, for us, it used to be you were 1098, which meant you finished the call, and then you were the best one. Like you had the 3-letter codes, right? Which could have been. It could have been like UNF, unfounded. It could have been NAT, which is everyone's favorite, which means necessary action taken, which means. No paper, you handled the business, but people were happy or sad, but there was a resolution and you didn't need to take it further. And then there's the dreaded RTF.
Oh yeah, report to follow.
Yes, and that's the one where you're getting it. We call it a 1060, which is your item number or your report number for your number or item number for your report, which will be the report number eventually. And then you got to type everything in and.
Yeah. Our favorite was UTL. You guys
What's that one?
Unable to locate.
Yeah, GOA. Gone on.
Or GOA or UTL. Yeah.
UNF is unfounded. GOA gone on arrival.
Yep, that's when you just drive around the parking lot. Nope, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, and just 10-8. I'm out. I'm good.
I don't know about all that, but
I saw they vanished.
They weren't here when I got here. So
it looks good to me. Looks good to me. You guys hear anything? No.
That's what you use your spotlight for.
Anything?
Doors are locked. Look locked. I'm good.
Doug, you need to remedy your illegal spotlight.
Wow. I outed myself.
You can't bring it up and then expect it not to be brought up.
I just put a comment in that on that video that if I get pulled over for that, I'm going to tell the cop he doesn't have a sense of humor. And if I get pulled over for something else, I mean, that's my fault.
You know what though, is if you get pulled over for that, you can ask him if he's a fan of the show. Because it could be.
Probably, I guarantee you that will happen.
Invite him to be on the show, and then there you go.
He could be the next studio guest.
You're a police. I know police.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're a police. I'm a real boy. Well, we shot this weekend, Douglas. I can't show anything, but we did do some shooting.
I did see that. You guys did some good work out there.
I am in love with my red dots now.
It's too crowded. Like we didn't realize it was like all the Cajuns were going out to sight in their deer rifles.
Mover believed I had a private range up until Saturday. Sunday.
JD, do you have do you still go shoot? Do you have a place you like to go?
We do, or I do. Well, I haven't been in a while, but there is a range locally here that's called Burrow Canyon, which is right above where I live.
Burrow, like a donkey?
like a Duro, or like a donkey. Yeah, burro more like a ghetto. But anyway, in the context of where I live, you'd know why that's a joke. But it's up in the canyons. It's kind of I'd like to say open space. It's got its own private lanes, and so if you reserve a lane, it's yours. And I think they have even a rifle length range that's I think 500 yards. I think that's the furthest it goes. But it's where we used to qualify, and it's fairly local to me, so that's where we like.
So you were a range safety officer?
We called it range master. So technically, I was in charge of all the qualifications. If you were our officer, I had to make sure, one, not just you qualified, but you had all your post requirements. And then at the same time, your equipment, your firearm met standards. And then I'd have to inspect them, all of it. And basically your binder was mine. And if you did not meet requirements, I would say goodbye to you.
Do you find that it's the people that only try to shoot on range qual days are like the worst? Like, is that the common trend? Is people wait until it's time to qualify and then they're like, I haven't shot since last qual?
Those are the ones that show up with the wrong magazines, and they wonder why. How
do you do that? How do you show up with the wrong magazines?
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a perishable skill. You mentioned it in your video.
Oh yeah.
The more you do it, the more proficient you're going to be. But at the same time, you practice the way you play. And if you don't go out there and are not just proficient, but do the tools and tricks that that are going to make you, one, gain the fine motor skills associated to it, but also build stressors into your training. When the time comes that you actually physically have to get in that combat scenario, you're going to fail. So
isn't that what Lieutenant Colonel Grossman said? You fall to the level of your training.
Absolutely. And I actually, you and I both, subscribe to his mantras, and I've read his books, and he's fantastic. But there's a big, and I don't know if you guys used to cover it in in your training or maybe in your academy, but the Newhall shooting here in California that was back in the 70s was a prime example of how you fall back on your training.
Yeah.
It was CHP officers that were ambushed in a traffic stop, and what they found was they reverted back to repetitive training where they would empty their shell casings into the palm of their hand and put them in their pocket during quals. And they did it so often, these officers, when they were found, had emptying shell casings in their pockets and were preoccupied with putting those shells in their.
Wow.
It's a good research if you read.
Yeah, I remember that story. Now that you mentioned it, I do remember. That's
the piece everybody remembers.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. You can find them on YouTube, all the old training videos and stuff, like touch the hand on the trunk to see if it opens, to see if somebody's going to jump out at you and stuff. Which none of that makes sense anymore, right? It's all.
That one has morphed. Now people watch that on the body cams and they say, "Oh, he's leaving his DNA there," so they can find out. Yeah,
I hear the fingerprint. You leave your fingerprints on the
right. Yeah, not that we have body cams and GPS, and we told the dispatcher where we were and who we were getting out with,
location, all that stuff.
If you disappear, mover, I'll be out there, hitting cars on the trunk with a UV light.
You're gonna have the duster and the fingerprint kit trying to fingerprint all the vehicles. That's nice. Thank you for looking out for me.
You're going to start giving out air tags and tossing them in the back seat of a car for you.
We've got that stuff at the place.
Well, you say that, but they've got those darts.
I've seen
that
those.
Shoot from your push bar.
Yep.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, so there's little tracking darts now that so there's all these companies, right? They're coming out with all these different intervention techniques, the old school pit, which can you guys pit? Have you been, are you trained in pit?
Oh, yeah.
We are not. That is not part of our training. In fact, they stopped putting push bars on the cars the Tahoes in 2020.
Really?
And the reason they said they stopped doing it was because they said that it was causing more damage to get into a wreck with a push bar on the car, because it would crumple up it would bend the frame than not. And by not putting push bars, they saved enough money to get like an extra car. Like the difference. And I'm like, okay. First of all, I've seen like Troop has push bars and we don't. And you put them side by side, one looks badass and one looks like a soccer mom car. Just my opinion. Just saying. But I think having seen all the like GSP videos, the Georgia State Police and the Arkansas stuff, I mean, would you say that it's actually a little safer to end the pursuit that way faster than to, try to spike them?
Here in California, it's evolved so much, and really most of the agencies have gone away with a lot of the pit
Really?
maneuver, and there's something very popular here. And if you ever watch pursuit videos of in the news or anything that actually broadcasts, they go into tracking mode. So they use the airship, they use
Well, you have to have an airship to use the airship, and that's another
point.
thing altogether. Now we're going to drones, and drones can't do that.
No. But that said, yeah, I think that it's a necessary tool, and I think that more agencies should keep using it and put those bumpers. I mean, in all reality, you don't need one if you're going to pit a car.
Right.
You can do it with any vehicle. I mean, it's not. You got
the
an SUV
wraparound ones, the GSP. They put the wraparound, and that thing just. I mean,
it looks like
sinister.
the Disneyland. What's that?
Yeah. Mad Max.
Mad Max. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about grapplers? How come they haven't?
They do that. No, that isn't.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen the first one used. Yeah.
Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Michigan?
One of them.
Minnesota?
We've got them in Police Patrol Simulator now.
They do the grappling thing. The problem I have with that one is that you have to get so close and be lined up with an erratic driver. And we already have enough trouble with people driving without trying to do formation work on a fleeing suspect.
But technically, if you're going to do a pit or a grapple, you're basically in the same proximity, aren't you?
But you're in a different alignment. Like a pit, it's momentary.
True.
Versus you have to line up the shot, then you have to take the shot, which means you have to do some kind of switch actuation. You got to be good. You got to be good. That's all.
Yeah, and then it's based on the scenario that's presented to you. Because if it's an armed suspect, you're not going to get that close. At least I don't want to get
straight up rip the axle off the car too. So
I saw that. Yeah,
that would be so cool.
They were. Doug's like, yeah, man, I love that idea. Let's rip axles off of cars.
What was the other one that I saw, or it was presented where it has the actual spike strip that launches under the car. I think that was something being developed where it almost looks like almost like a fan. So it launches underneath the vehicle being pursued. So you got to get right behind it, but then it opens underneath it and becomes a spike strip.
You mentioned that. It made me think of some agency on traffic stops. They would have this thing they'd put in front of the tires. You've seen that?
I've seen that.
They put the thing in front of the tires, and if they flee, it's like, all right, dude, good luck. See you in a little bit.
Yep, because you're about to blow out all the tires on your car anyway. Yeah, I've actually seen LAPD when they're in the middle of a traffic stop where they go to their car and knowing that if the suspect has a warrant or has a history of fleeing, they'll put the spike strips out.
There's an insane video with LAPD where they're doing a traffic stop and this gangbangers just start popping off rounds, and it's a 2-man unit, and you're just like, that's crazy. I mean, it's insanity. They literally are in a war zone at times in some of those areas.
Yeah, I have friends that work some of the, actually good family friend won the Medal of Valor about 4 years ago. And he works 77th Division or worked that area. And just some of the things that they experience. And I work, mind you, like in the East Los Angeles area. So it's not Beverly Hills. It's, it was pretty dicey where we used to work as well. But at the same time, just knowing that every call, every traffic stop, the people you're encountering are, I'd say, 90% of the times armed.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it goes both ways, right? Because there's the one side where you're on alert because every encounter, and then there's the other where you get so used to pulling over Meemaw that your guard you get a little complacent, because you see those videos too. You see those videos where, they're a little too complacent. They're a little too much like they're standing in front of the B pillar. They're putting themselves in weird positions. And it's like, are we complacent because that's what we're used to, or is that our training?
That's another topic altogether, because the training in itself, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen agencies that are very proponent at doing traffic stops where you walk up on the vehicle on the passenger side.
Yeah.
Here in California, it was you walk on the driver's side.
Yeah.
What you look for, the things inside the vehicle, where to position yourself. It's always, and it's, how do I say it? I don't want to demean or make, another agency or practice sound like that's not the right way to do things, but there is no right way. Everything is, obviously adaptable and situational, and you just have to be not just flexible in your approach, but at the same time, adapt to whatever is being presented to you. So I kind of like where, for example, when I would have my trainees, I would put them in those situations. Like, for example, we didn't normally pull traffic or do traffic stops on freeways, but I'd have them do it, and say, okay, you're on the freeway. How do you approach this car? This is totally different. This is CHP, or highway patrol or state troopers. They do things totally different. So
Sunday morning, a Baton Rouge Police Department officer was hit by a fatigued 18-wheeler, and it smashed the car to because it was a Charger. It smashed it all the way to his
pancake. Yeah.
But he's survived minor injuries, but he has survived. But I mean, that stuff scares the crap out of me because, I got Luna in the back. If it hits to the driver's compartment, she's dead. There's no protection for her back there except that kennel.
And do you guys do the offset?
So we train, I'm sure it's the same. We train various ways where it's offset one side or the other. We do the angle, or we do straight behind. Okay. That's usually the three different ways. What I like to do when I'm on an interstate is I will get as far to the shoulder as I can, even in the grass, as long as it's not like I'm going to either get stuck or set my car on fire. And then I'll angle. So at least it's a glancing blow if something hits it and it's not straight on to where Luna is.
Right.
And then I'll do most of the time, I'm not gonna say always, but passenger approach, because that puts you in a good place to go around the back, and then stand on the passenger side on a freeway, on a highway. And there's tactical reasons for that too.
Yeah, and I used to like to do the passenger approach at night.
Yeah,
because they're so complete, or those that you encounter sometimes are so used to looking for that officer coming at that certain spot.
Yeah,
you shock them when you're like, oh wait, you're over here, you're not over there. So.
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking about this driving my Yukon the other day. Vehicles that are produced now, they don't have. So how we put the takedowns, we use the overhead lights and the spotlight to blind the mirror so they can't see you approaching. Well, guess what? The mirror is now a camera. And you can't blind it because, it's sitting at a different place than where you're putting your spotlight.
You're showing up on their top-down view.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You watch those Tesla videos. I mean, there's 360 degrees.
Yeah.
You can see you coming from a mile.
It's just like, it's like anything else, though. Technology has to adapt, or you have to adapt to the new technology. Now, granted, is the dude that's going to start popping off rounds going to be the one with the SA to be looking at all their cameras and stuff? Probably not. They're the "these aren't my pants" crowd.
Yeah.
But on that note, well, hold on. We got one from the audience.
Not my concealed weapon.
Wicked Spider Black says, "Hi, everybody, and guest."
That is Spider's line.
It's a copy paste. I think it's from the heart.
Absolutely. He says it almost every show very reliably.
Yeah. Anyway, on that topic, so I know people want me to cover this, which I honestly, I was talking to Gonky about this. I don't like it. The UPS crash that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
It's so close to home. I mean, this is a U.S. carrier I've got friends that fly for UPS. It's a horrible. There's so many angles of video now. It's
I just saw the one where the truck driver.
Yeah.
That's
It's interesting. When I do this, it shows ready or not. It outs you. So I'll get rid of that. But it's a horrific crash, and they're going to do their investigation stuff. But one of the things I wanted to talk about in this, setting, since we're talking non-aviation, is I was working a detail the other day, and super experienced guy. He's 70 something. And we were riding around doing a perimeter patrol on the side by side, and he's just telling me stories. I'd love to get him on the show because he's
get him to write a book.
70 and still on patrol.
He's a reserve.
Oh, well,
we're
still,
working a fair. Yeah. I mean,
that's awesome. Kudos to him.
Oh, guess what? Guess how old his daughter is?
Well, 70, so 40, 50?
20. Yeah.
High five.
Hey, I'm not going to say anything because that could be me at this point. But like that's the road I'm heading down. But anyway, I digress. Super interesting dude. And he's telling me stories from like the 60s and 70s because he started his career as a fire chief.
Oh, okay.
And then he moved on to law enforcement, and he was working in the fire service as a hose dragger / second responder / we love you guys. I'm just kidding. During 2 fatal airliner crashes in New Orleans.
Wow.
One of which went to it crashed in the subdivision, like by the airport. And one of the things he was talking about is just the mass casualty event, chain of command, setting up on-scene command, and then looking for going from the search for survivors to just recovery operations. And then the horrific nature. He said he went to a class, and he said the best thing anybody had ever told him was that, like, instructors, in fact, it was out in San Diego. He said the instructor said, look, you got to save yourself. So if you get to a scene or something and you just go, I can't handle this, you got to back off. Because if you don't, he talked about he would drive to work and see bodies on the freeway. Like his mind would populate the bodies that he had seen on the freeway. He's like, you cannot let that happen to yourself. And if you get into that situation, you've got to back off. And he talks about that. He said they found airline seats, and the family of 3 were still buckled in upside down with the little girl. And he's like, I can't do this. And you guys get it. I need a minute. And that trauma of dealing with that. And I know, JD, before the show we were talking, you've got some experience in this. What do you think? I mean, the personal toll on the brave men and women that are out there right now, as it shifts from survivors to recovery, and then this horrific thing. I mean, how do you deal with that, and kind of what goes on with that?
Well, first and foremost, the heart goes out to everybody affected, associated with that, because it's horrific, and like you said, it's so close to home, and it is one of those scenarios where, as a first responder, one, you can train your entire life, but until you're physically there and see it, you don't know how it's going to affect you. Having had officers I worked with, we did have a mass casualty event at one of the I'm talking way back in 2002. We had a train derailment when I first started within the city, and the officers that the first responders that got there were police officers. Wasn't the fire department, wasn't, it was just the first initial officer on scene, and a few others were in that situation where there were just basically bodies everywhere. There was, the train derailment happened during rush hour, or I'm not rush hour, I'm sorry, early in the morning. So it was a commuter train. And mind you, there was just, I would say, close to 50 to 80 people just scattered everywhere. And associated with that, those that first got there, had the trauma of what they saw tied to them pretty much the entire career. And some of them are still working now. And, I can honestly say that, I guarantee they still see those faces and still see those bodies. So, you talk consistently about, the mental health associated with first responders, but just a mental health minute, but something that, and Doug, you're an expert at this too as well, but something that I, have seen throughout my career is it really does help to train yourself to be prepared for that, what you're about to see. So
Yeah.
whether it's conditioning yourself and say, okay, I'm about to enter this scene, whatever the call may be, and what I'm about to experience may be horrific, it helps. It
Yeah.
does. That said, you carry with it. It's a weight that, I mean, I've had. I can't even tell you. And you mentioned scenes that I'll never walk away from.
JD, you've been in the business a while. Do you think that the kind of the infrastructure and support around that kind of stuff has improved during your career?
Towards the tail end, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there was not just more resources, but there was more opportunity for you to dialogue or discuss it with not just your command staff or those that were actually there to support you, but there were more resources available. When I first started, it was kind of a, don't
cover it up.
Cover it up,
Yeah.
keep it inside, and I hate to use the term, but it's like, just be a man and suck it up. But that was the usual outcome when you'd go to a certain scene or whatever. And then, mind you, when you experience something traumatic like that, you would walk away knowing you couldn't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, immediately there's, obviously support and resources that come to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah. When we talked about that, the murder suicide that I dealt with, on the last show, the employee support people were at the scene. Like, you could not leave the cordon area
That's perfect.
until you talked to the guy that said, "Are you okay? Here's a card. If this comes up later, call this number. Are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you can go back to work? What did you see?" Like, it went through every single deputy that was on that call had to walk through that line and talk to him. And I think that's a fantastic resource. My first ever FTO call, like very first call, was a suicide.
Wow.
An older lady that shot herself in the chest.
Wow.
And it's really the first time, seeing something like that. A lot of people go their entire lives without seeing that,
and law enforcement officers go their entire career, some of them.
Well, and Hatchet talked about, you're still going to see deaths, just, because every time there's a death, cops get called out because you got to write a report on it. But
right.
Hatchet talked about that. He talked about that on the last show. He was saying he basically became numb to everything except kids.
That's not cool.
Yeah. Oh,
that's tough.
I hate to say it, but I agree with him. In the context of even now, I've been out of the game for going on about 7 years now, 6 years. I still do consulting and that kind of work, but for the most part, I haven't been 10-8 or on patrol for that, that many years. But I still am numb to a lot of circumstances that are presented to me in the civilian world, where it's like, well, why aren't you showing emotion? It doesn't affect me. It just
I saw that growing up. My dad, I was born in 66, and I think my dad went in when he was 62, in 1962, when he was 24 or 25. And growing up, I didn't get it. And it's just like, why is this guy not responding like a human to things that are normal for other people? And it was years after he retired before I think I talked about this on the last show too, before I saw that other piece, because he had just shut it down. And that's what causes me to raise those questions. Like, because I went through it with him before that kind of support even was thought of. And then in graduate school, I met a police psychologist who was like an innovator in the kind of stuff Mover was talking about. He said, we call it arresting them. When an officer has a critical incident, if there's no support staff there, they put him in the back of a squad car and say, "Sorry, dude, we got to do this," until he gets there to support them. And that they were innovating that kind of technique.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one, not just something that all agencies should adopt, some form of disconnect, where
Yeah.
if you're involved in this type of a scenario, you were the first responder at that plane crash, you're taking some time off, and you're not to say it's forced therapy or forced
mandatory though.
mandatory, but it's
not forced, but
you're
mandatory.
voluntold. Yeah, you're voluntold
Right.
that you have to go and seek those resources and get it out and talk to it, whether it be a peer or however it may be, because you may have some just peer support. As you know, sometimes it's easier to talk to somebody that experienced it or has experienced something similar than
once you start
a
breaking down
professional.
those barriers to the point where colleagues can talk to each other. He talked about that too, that once they got it, so people could come up with some way to get around the stigma, and mandatory fixed that. He said once it was mandatory, everybody just showed up because they could say, well, the brass made me do it.
Well, even beyond, I know it all ties into mental health, but beyond the mental health side of this, what the first responders have and are going through as far as just the chaos, right? The call comes out. It never fails. We talked about this on the last show. That initial call is never 100% what actually happened. And so, you hear plane crash, probably thinking mass, like 200 souls on board. And
you're
what
thinking
am I
of
looking
Piper
for?
Cub. You're thinking of Cessna.
Oh, right. Or that's what because remember 9/11, the first call came out. They thought, oh, Cessna hit the World Trade Center. I mean, it's always that. And then you've got the people speeding towards an unknown danger. In this case, 280,000 pounds of jet fuel, which from what I understand, there were areas that the fire department, like because it was a residential warehouse area, like a old warehouse area, there were places they couldn't get to, like access, and I'm sure that's stressful. It's stressful just not knowing if you're going to be able to help somebody. I mean, we talked about this in the last show. JD, was that a stressor for you when you knew there was nothing you could do to help? All right. That's why you signed up, right? You signed up to go help, and you're going to something. You're like, there's no way anybody survived this. I don't, I'm helpless here.
It's almost deflating when you get there, and because I've been in those scenarios where you got there too late, or there's just absolutely nothing you can do. It takes time for you to understand, okay, mind you, within the context of the call, I have to switch into that autopilot and let my training take over. And I got to take care of the things I need to take care of, setting up a perimeter, getting, the additional resources, letting my dispatch know what the heck I'm seeing. It's not the small plane. It's whatever the picture is in front of me.
I think that's something that the general public didn't for a long time have a sense of until very recently, when those body cams and scanners and stuff start showing up on YouTube. For me, when that building collapsed in Miami, and I listened to, if you want to listen to exactly what you guys are talking about, they didn't have any idea what was going on. And first responders are showing up and trying to describe it just like you said, JD. They're literally telling the story over the radios to get the whole thing rolling. It was really it was quite impressive, honestly.
Well, listen to 9/11. Listen to the calls of 9/11. Yeah. It's just a continuous.
I did some research on that, and mind you, for grad school, I did some stuff associated with interoperability associated to radios and interagency communication.
A lot was learned.
So much was learned. I mean, not just the fact that what you're communicating should be in plain English, but at the same time, is how to get that big picture and communicate it and translate it for everybody to understand who's getting there. And that is just another stressor. You're not just trying to help and find people to save. It's like, what do I need to say right now? And I got stories for days, but I've had people where it's deers in the headlight, where it's like, you're trained, you've gone through your experience, you've been here for years. And then as soon as you present them something like that, it's like, whoa, snap out of it. You're deer in the headlights. Come on.
Well, and then you guys have the radios, the Motorola's, where every time you key up, if somebody else is keying up, it goes boop, boop. I mean, can you imagine all the boop, boop, people trying to step on each other to try to get the information out? I mean, it's my thoughts are absolutely with not only the UPS family, the families of those lost, but the first responders, because they are going through it right now. It is a war, and
it'll
they
be a while.
Fighting. Yeah.
Yep, that was a tough one.
Absolutely agree.
They had so much fuel on board too. It was outbound to
Wow.
Honolulu from Louisville, right?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Lance says my dad was one of the first responders to Delta 191 in '85 when he was with the Texas DPS. It's been 40 years and he's still haunted by what he saw that day. It never fully fades. Yeah, I mean, the problem with something like that too is you don't even know where to look. Like, it's one thing if you've got a plane crash and you're like, okay, I've got 187 people on board. We need to find 187 people. But some of these buildings, like there was a bar, in the path. Well, how many people were in there?
Yep.
We don't even know how many people are missing to know what we should be looking for. It's just chaos.
Yeah, at that point, you just stand in a position and say, everybody who can hear me, come to me. Because you can't get in there,
And that is what, God, I really need to get him on the show. I don't know if he would do it, but he talked about that. He was the on-scene commander, or not the, what's the second in command? Not the on-scene commander, but the deputy
Ops
commander.
Ops section chief.
For fire. And they were on like day 2. And they were like, look, we're not finding any survivors. And he said, listen, there's too much noise. He said, let's pull everybody back and just listen. He's like, that's all we need to do is we got generators running. We got everything. Let's just turn everything off and just listen. And no kidding, they found one survivor from that. They were in a bathtub.
Wow.
And, everybody in their family had died, but this one person. And they found it just by being quiet. But that's the kind of stuff, right? They didn't know what they were looking for. They had to just use their senses and use some non-conventional, hey, no tech, nothing. Let's just turn everything off and listen for a second. And thankfully the timing worked out, but yeah. Hey, let's talk about some lot less.
Let's talk about JD going to grad school. I don't know that I knew that.
I did. I have an MBA in business. Why I went that direction, I don't know. But in operational science.
What's operational science?
Basically, we fix companies from the inside. If they're not broke, we try to fix them anyway.
So when you say you do consulting, is it that or is it law enforcement?
No, law enforcement. We do the company I work with and part own. We do safety, security, vulnerability assessments, first responder training, that kind of stuff.
I'm just giving you the chance to break down some of the law enforcement stereotypes by being a college guy.
I am. Late. I went late.
His nerd talk. Doug is like, I want to focus on the nerd stuff.
Right?
Degrees.
You really want to set Mover off. Let's talk Battlefield.
Oh, God. Anyway, so Brian Chevette Racer 31 says, I was almost part of a high-speed T-bone traffic accident. Walking up to the car, not knowing what I was going to find behind all the airbags, had my heart up much more than almost getting hit. I appreciate first responders so much. Wow.
I appreciate Brian for admitting to racing a Chevette.
Hey, don't bully the people that give us stuff, please. You're not going to be Gonky's stand-in here.
No. Right. You know how snobby BMW drivers are.
Oh boy.
So anyway, police activity has this video, which is obviously just body cam of Slidell PD, right down the road from me. Wonderful community. They and I actually created a controversy, believe it or not. So
in law enforcement now.
On Saturday, well, our local legal expert, Joe Responti, said it. Maybe you shouldn't have done this. We're going to get your thoughts, JD. On Saturday, November 1st, 2025, the detail officer at Dillard's was notified of a shoplifting in progress. When the shoplifter, later identified as 34-year-old, we're not going to talk about, from Navarre, Florida, spotted the officer, she discarded the items that she was attempting to steal and tried to leave the store. Sergeant Jeff Cars attempted to stop the woman, who fled on foot into the parking lot. The friend was waiting in the parking lot and began honking his horn to indicate where he was in the parking lot, the getaway driver, of course. As the sergeant gave chase, the subject was able to get in the passenger side of the car and the driver took off. A good Samaritan witnessed the events and realized that Sergeant Cars wasn't near his patrol car. She offered Sergeant Cars a ride, to which Sergeant Cars graciously accepted. The citizen officer duo safely followed the suspect while Sergeant Cars gave a play-by-play on his radio. Moments later, backup arrived. So we're going to watch this video, and I want to get the FTO breakdown of...
Do I have to? Oh, boy.
He's like officer safety.
Right.
Officer safety. There we go.
How you doing, ma'am?
I didn't take anything.
Okay. Come on, walk with me. All right?
I didn't take anything, sir. I mean,
Come on and walk. Foot pursuit from Dillard. Slidell. Foot pursuit for Dillard. White female, gray top, blue jeans, brown hair.
He's damaging all these vehicles on his way.
Towards Old Navy. Trying to get in the car. What? Silver Buick. Get out. Stop. Stop the vehicle.
Oh,
Stop it.
Oh boy.
HBH 031, Mississippi. HBH 031, Mississippi. Silver Buick going towards Marshalls.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Follow him. Go, go, go.
It seems like how anybody would feel at this point.
here's the way.
They went left. They went left. I don't know where they went.
It's right. They're right there. They're going around the back.
Go and give them the air.
They're right.
They're turning right towards, on Town Center, towards the circle. I'm in a vehicle with a civilian. I'm going to try to keep sight of him. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You were running and I was trying to.
Going out
Thank you
towards
very much.
Primo.
10-4. It turned right onto Town Center towards the circle. Trying to see if I can keep sight of them somewhere. They're around the circle towards Town Center.
You see him?
Yeah. They're going around the circle.
Put your
They
seatbelt
went around
on.
the circle already.
Write yourself a ticket.
They're up ahead in traffic. So
I'm at Primo and 10.
It's a white male driver, bearded, white female, brown hair, gray shirt, blue jeans, thin build.
I'm at Primo and Town Center where I can see and turn off. Which way?
I'm going.
Get in this middle
I
lane.
really wish he'd put his seatbelt on.
My
I'm
first
gonna see if I
comment
can
would be,
spot it in the traffic circle.
That duty belt is destroying that lady's seat.
It's right in front of a gray Dodge. It's in front of a black. It's in front of a black Dodge in the right lane, getting ready to turn towards the interstate. Behind a silver SUV in front of a black Dodge pickup. HBH 031.
We got it.
Okay. Yep. Okay. There you go,
Nice.
sir. Thank you for your
I withdraw all my
Thank you for your
questions.
service.
thank you for your service.
Like us on Facebook.
Get out of the vehicle!
Oh, look at the red dot.
Shut the vehicle off! Stop! Do not move. Put your hands up!
Crossfire.
Get out!
Get out of my way. Let me make
No,
it.
on the ground. On the ground.
I didn't do nothing. Hey, my car's rolling, sir.
No, it's not.
I didn't do anything. Sir, what did I do?
All right, 2 in custody. Code 4, everybody back it down.
What did I do?
Roll over. Hey, look at me. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be abused against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, have one present with you while you're being questioned. You cannot afford one, won't be appointed to represent you for any question. So at any time to exercise your rights, not answer any question, make a statement. Do you understand your rights? You know exactly why. Get up. We're not grabbing nothing.
Were you going to ask him anything?
Just wanted to tell him you knew exactly why.
He has not been patted down yet.
Okay.
In the car. Come forward.
Your date of birth there.
I'm right here. I didn't take anything though. I didn't take anything, sir.
The boy doesn't even have a vest on.
I didn't take anything. Anything.
All right. Well, that concludes that video.
I hope
boy.
keeping a straight face wasn't part of my assignment. 'Cause
STO JD, our expert, please advise.
Oh, I guess my first comment is how much does Slidell want to write the check for to that woman?
Well, so let me add some context here. Slidell PD is obviously a large area in our parish, and the previous chief of police just ran for mayor. There was a interim election or whatever that he ran for mayor, won. So they appointed the administrative officer as the interim police
Interim
chief
chief.
until interim chief. He has aspirations of other things, and immediately took hold of this, got on Facebook, got in front of the media and said, I support our guys. And they located the Good Samaritan and brought her out, named her, and brought her out to a ceremony and gave her an award and gave this sergeant an award. Now you have the context. Now you may proceed.
Well, good for them. I'm glad that everything worked out in the context of a field training officer being in that same scenario. My first thought was, what's the want? Shoplifting. Yeah, it could constitute a felony, maybe.
It depends on how much.
The value, right?
It's a
the
misdemeanor,
value.
more than likely.
So you got a misdemeanor.
We would cut a summons usually. That's how
probably.
it works.
You're probably going to cite her out or cite them out. So for all those reasons, good on them. They caught the bad guy, or girl and guy, the driver. They put themselves in a very, very bad situation all around.
For the viewers at home, how is this to the average person? This looks like a straight out of like 21 Jump Street, right?
Right. So
I'm commandeering your vehicle.
Yeah.
You're gonna go chase this.
I didn't know that was a real thing.
One, you don't do that because you own the vehicle the moment you commandeer it, if you were to ever do that. Two, you never put a civilian in a position where you always think worst case scenario. Let's say that person just got in that car, they are armed, and now you're in a gun battle. You just put a civilian in that scenario. They weren't in it before. She pulled up next to you, said, you want to get in? You say, nope, see ya, and I got to go. I got to continue doing what I'm doing. Second, if the worst case scenario would have happened and that civilian would have gotten injured, a vehicle, all that stuff, you're now could be criminally liable for putting her in that position. So for all of those reasons, you do not do what this gentleman did if you're an officer. For any reason. My opinion.
Yeah. Well, also from an officer safety perspective, you're getting into you're getting a ride from a stranger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were they an accomplice?
Good point.
That would be the way to do it.
I mean, seriously, the accomplice, like,
good point.
Is this? I mean,
good.
Wow.
So many things wrong.
I don't know. Like, I agree with you as far as it is a liability. However, I mean, good on the interim chief for backing his people. I don't think we do that enough. I think you do need to, if they're right. I think you back people when they're right and supported by law and training. Is this a training issue?
Possibly. I just don't. I'd have to really. I put myself in that scenario. Would I have even entertained the thought of getting into this person's car? Would you? Would any other? And here's the thing. I don't know about the gentleman, if he's how long he's been on the job. He's a sergeant. I guess you mentioned he was a sergeant.
He was working a detail. So he's a sergeant working a detail. For those that don't know, stores will pay off-duty officers through the department to go work a shoplifting detail. We have them. There's some at like Walmart, or there used to be. I think they stopped doing that. But in uniform, they sit like at the front. Sometimes they sit in their car, and when a call comes out, especially if it's a place that gets a lot of shoplifting calls, the cop is already there. And so they take the report, they cut the summons. That's usually what shoplifting becomes. It becomes a summons, unless it's felony, which that's very hard to reach. I mean, some stuff like you go to Home Depot and you got, $800 to $1,000 of power tools, maybe.
Well,
What's the felony threshold in Louisiana?
I think it's
offhand.
Here in California.
Don't ask me questions
900,
like this, Douglas.
Yeah, I mean, like it's because in case folks don't know, it's a certain amount of money that if
correct
theft gets to that level, it's a felony theft.
The items being taken have to equal to that value. Here in California, I think it's $900 or more. that said,
$1,000.
okay, that
So she would have had to pick up $1,000 worth of stuff for it to be
carry, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously, if she maybe physically assaulted somebody, now you got into robbery and that kind of other stuff. It keeps going from there. But you're in a position where you've already given out, and I'm just thinking of his decisions as he's leaving the store. He already put out a good description. He heard that officers were on their way. He even gave out the vehicle description, the the
License
plate
plate.
number, what direction of travel it was going. Yeah, I think that
His enthusiasm took over.
yeah, I think so.
Hawkeye is the same answer if you know the person offering the ride is an off-duty police officer. I actually say yes, and here's why. You're pursuing someone with an unmarked, non-government vehicle. Like,
There's
I would
a
never
video
put somebody in that situation.
There's
I mean,
a
what do you
video
think,
on
JD?
YouTube of a police officer handing a gun to somebody.
Yeah, but to your point about getting in a car with a stranger, I could identify myself as an off-duty officer, but am I?
Right.
Well, if you knew him, let's say,
Okay,
let's say it's Hatchet. It's
yeah, or
Hatchet.
Hatchet.
You see Hatchet, you hear the accent, you're like, that's Hatchet. Okay, bruh. You know he's a SWAT bro, so he's probably got all the rifles in the trunk.
Okay, then I may actually get into that car.
I'm not pursuing with a vehicle with no lights.
Oh, I got stories like that all day long because I've done things like that where I've gone on rides with officers and not had a radio or a vest and had ID, had my badge, but got into scenarios where I've second guessed myself like, I shouldn't be here right now. Or I shouldn't be in this scenario. And that's kind of going back to that same outcome.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully it worked out. It's a feel-good story. It's straight out of a movie.
Thank you for your service. Kind of sent me over the top.
Oh, that was great. That's great. Good for her. She got an award for it. So good for her.
Yeah, she got it. It's a major award for Gile.
Yep. Good for her.
But yeah, I mean, cool story. The interim chief is getting his political points out of it, and
got to at this point. Yeah.
Except the legal analyst with the local station was like, should he have done this? And now we're like, no.
Yeah, wait till you guys get subpoenaed.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Well, would the driver get a subpoena?
No, I mean you and JD for having opinions on the YouTube.
Why would we
in the civil suit?
No,
that's not a subpoena, but
no, that's not.
But she technically was involved. She saw something associated with the case.
She's in the report.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, so that's the question though. If she starts violating laws, like she starts speeding,
running
stop signs,
that goes back to my, the liability associated with it. You're having, mind you, again, who knows how far this would have gone. And let's say if that car kept going and she kept following it, and he's telling her to run red lights, or what is he going to do? Stick his head out the window and scream, do the siren, or I don't know. It just could escalate. And
it could depend a lot on who you got in the car with too, because some people are going to take that and run with it. Like, I got a police officer in the car and he's doing it. This is my chance, man. I get to be a hero.
Go back like the 70s, a little, what's that little red bubble you throw on the top?
Magnet bubble.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Starsky and Hutch.
Let's see. Dag wants to know, why does he have two radios? Because he's one radio is the store, and one radio is his portable for the agency. So he's using the one radio to talk probably the loss prevention guy or girl and the store manager or whatever. They probably got an in-store handheld. And then the other one is to dispatch. And that's where all the officers are showing up, because they're a hot call.
I'm curious about something that came up in the chat. If they didn't have her cold for shoplifting, was she in trouble when she didn't stop and talk, when she ran? I mean, what's the what do you mean they didn't have her
cold for shoplifting? What does cold mean?
I mean, do they have her on camera? How do they know for sure she shoplifted?
I'm sure they do. Yeah, I'm sure they do. If he's already detaining her as she's walking out, they
loss,
probably already let him know.
Loss prevention probably had him on had her on camera.
Okay.
Intent to deprive.
So he's taken their word for it that they've got a good.
No, he's probably there. He's the detail
like he saw
guy.
her do it?
No, he saw the camera.
Okay. Okay. I got you.
Especially if he's in that room with him. Yeah.
All these things are on camera.
Yeah. Gotcha. I didn't know that the guys on detail might be in the security room. I usually see them out front.
Well, they don't have to be. I mean, they could be sitting out front and the loss prevention person walks out and says, "Hey, I got a shoplifter."
That's
here's
the part that wasn't clear.
Yeah.
But usually these stores, mind you, I don't know if they do it there, but usually these stores put a marked patrol car in front of that store where that guy is. So it's like they know he's there.
Right. Yeah. And it could just be the loss prevention officer or person saying, "Hey, this person was shoplifting. I saw him on camera." That's all you need. I mean,
all you need.
Okay.
Whether she put it back or not, I mean,
again, something that the rest of us wouldn't know.
Yeah. You have reasonable suspicion to detain. That's all you need.
Yeah. Okay. The reasonable articulable suspicion.
I didn't take anything. I put it back. And then
she runs off. Yeah. And now she's resisting.
Right.
Because she's fled. So now it's now we've got more charges.
Right.
However, I would go to my unit, which is probably parked out front.
Yes. Or depending on, or if it was me and my age, I would just let Motorola take over.
Which he did.
He did. Technically.
He actually, if you go back and watch the video, he had called out that plate before. So
before he got in.
Every unit in the area would have probably done exactly what happened here.
Right.
Like, this is like the Indiana Jones theory, right? Like Indiana Jones would have happened with or without Indiana Jones because of the Raiders of the Lost Ark and stuff. Yeah. So if he'd have just called out the plate, they could have just ridden around the parking lot together and never chased and still managed to, I don't know, maybe.
This is what happens when you put all those cameras out there.
Thag says that lady seemed to stop at stop signs and such. She could have not had much common sense. She could have started running lights in a car without warning devices. Yeah, I mean, somebody wasn't wearing a seatbelt because he goes bing, bing. And from a practical perspective, I am never letting somebody in my vehicle with a duty belt because that will destroy the
scratch.
Your everything is scratch. No way. Just get out of my car.
I've done that with my own car where you're in uniform and you just happen to,
no, all the scratches. Now if Doug shows up with his illegal Crown Vic, it finally becomes legal.
Right.
We don't care about those seats.
Yeah.
Came from a junkyard anyway.
Anyway, another topic we wanted to talk about. I guess this is a little bit off of the law enforcement stuff, but hey, I might be screwed. I don't know about that. Tremec just released a manual 6-speed transmission with the same mounting points of the C8's dual clutch. So basically, it's aftermarket, right? And they said the reason they didn't put the manual in the C8, obviously, because the C7 was the last manual transmission Corvette, and then they went to the C8, and it was all dual clutch. We couldn't find anybody, honestly, who'd be willing to do it because just like the automatic, the dual clutch transmission, it would have to be a bespoke manual, Taj said. Low volume, very expensive. The reason is it's a low volume industry. That industry is dying, building manual transmission. Every year as it goes down, he said. Well, then Tremec came out, and now they make one that'll, for the low price of, doesn't say, will,
$1 million.
You can bolt it on there. The gear shifts are controlled via cable that connects to the shift mechanism on the left side of the transaxle. It's rated to 1,000 horsepower and 800 pound-feet of torque.
Wow.
And 8,600 RPM, which is the Z06.
Funny that they would have exactly those specs.
Yeah, so you could absolutely put a manual in your C8. It's unclear whether this means that the GM folks are going to eventually do that, but I'm a little nervous because my C701 is special for that very reason. And if they start going back to the manual, not as special.
I think you need to get on the phone with GM and Tremec, and I mean, we can do a feature on this at my shop and convert one.
Yeah,
it's the obvious play here.
Why would you want to?
They send a C8 and Tremec, and I mean, because I haven't yet.
Have you worked on a rear engine Corvette.
Not on a Corvette. I've owned more than one rear engine race
But-
car.
How? Think about the affordability of it, though. Just to tear up your
Well, I mean, that's why we
very
need the channel.
expensive
They'll
Corvette.
send us
Yeah,
a free
exactly.
C8 and a free transmission.
to convert it, it's just
That's how Mover rolls, right? Mover.
No, I don't, and
If you read the comments,
yeah, I don't, and I think that it's a horrible idea, and no one should do it, so that my C701 remains
There you go.
priceless.
absolutely.
I failed to
Valuable.
consider that angle.
So it's still
That's the only angle I'm considering here. I'm like, because the whole reason it's special, and like I don't take it to the track anymore, is because it's the last manual transmission ZR1, and if
So
they
that's
go,
the good news, right? Then you can take it to
It's-
the track. It's
it's
not the
terrible
last angle.
news. No, because then it's worth nothing. No, Douglas.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry that this happened. And crushed your
Well,
dreams.
nothing yet. Nothing's happened.
I just still think with the cost associated, the tag, the price tag associated with it, even to convert your very expensive Corvette, I think it's not going to be very popular.
Shaquille O'Neal bought two of them and had them cut both in half and make a longer one for him.
Hence,
So, I mean,
my theory that it's Shaquille O'Neal only can do this, or Mover with his big bucks. Other than that,
we need more likes and follows, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we need more than 446 viewers at a time for that to be a valid statement. But I would say,
Yeah, Doug was teasing that everybody believes you're.
yeah. Well, I would say that good luck or have fun with it. But manuals are fun, but why would they? Because it's a low volume. They're not going to sell as many, and honestly, it's slower.
Yeah, I
they're
was
out
going to
there
say
trying
race
sell
cars
them.
and track cars, but the existing transmission's already better for that.
Yeah. Manual transmissions, though, still more fun.
More
Miles
Well,
per
I'll go
miles.
there.
Millennials and Gen Zers don't
Yeah,
want
like,
to
they
drive
can't even
manual.
drive 'em.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
can't even drive them. So
It's an anti-theft
Yeah.
device.
yeah, exactly. There you go. That's a good point.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's like
Now you just showed it for another market. And you should have not said
that-
that.
You
Yeah, it's
just
another market.
alienated a
Anti-theft.
whole group of viewers.
that's not alienating. I'm just stating fact. Anyway, that's all the topics I had, except hey, book 2 update. Doug, where are we at on that? 57?
57-ish, 58,
Yeah, I'm
maybe
trying to
59,
finish this
somewhere in
book.
there. I'm concerned. You say the book is nearly over, and I feel like there's story, so maybe we need to have a meeting. We'll see.
Don't tell
I
me
have
don't
I have a question.
I don't
What's your
want it to end.
When's book 1 audiobook coming out?
I gotta find
JD,
it.
you have a really good voice.
Yeah, JD. What are you doing for the next 6 to 9 months?
Thank you. Does that mean I have a good face for radio?
Can you?
You have a good
Oh.
face for audiobooks.
For audiobooks? I can narrate, I guess.
Spectre Rising, the new narrator, is in review. I'm looking at it right now because
Oh, nice.
we the contract on Thomas the Tank Engine finally expired. The 7-year.
Poor dude.
Oh,
And-
I liked that book, and I
don't get
liked
me
that
wrong.
version of it.
I did. I just loved when he would say, "How do you Krav Maga?"
Yeah.
Not
There were a couple.
Krav
He had a couple of trademark idiosyncrasies.
The law enforcement terms too. It was just fantastic.
I listened to that when I was pulling a race car to Florida, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I gotta kill the contract on avoid, negotiate, kill too. Yeah, because that one's obviously time for a new. It's a 7-year contract, man. They get you in a long
boy.
one, but
Wow.
yeah, I have. It hasn't been a priority because I've been trying to finish. I don't know what happened. I used to be able to write a new book 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
60 days. I'd pump out chapters, but now with Gonki's
So
a full-time job.
Chapter every couple of weeks on a
Yeah, it's
fast
tough.
pace.
It's
You
very
say?
tough.
Did you say Gonki's a full-time job?
Dealing with Gonki is a full-time job.
He's Gonki's minder.
Oh, boy.
Gonki it's a lot
He's
of work.
handler.
The golden
Keeping
retriever.
Gonki with his cat shot brain, keeping him
Yeah. Well.
in check. And
He's worth it, though.
He is worth it. It's a lot of work. Like he leaves me. Like we got drill this weekend. I'm gonna have to shave the beard.
Oh boy.
I'm going for both days. He's only going for one day. And it's like, dude, why do you keep hubcapping me? Like, I'm gonna have to bring Luna. That's what's gonna have to happen.
I met a dog today. One of my
There's
bosses.
there's
bought
the
it.
autism we've known to love.
No, that's the ADD. That's
Yeah.
the ADD. That's not the autism. One of my bosses, his wife had to go to a thing, and so he had to bring their baby dog, their puppy, to work, and it was the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
I can't take mine.
Little
Mine's
corgi.
laying next to me right now, but she's I think I posted a photo earlier on her, but she's pushing 110 in dog years.
Oh boy.
And
What math is that? What are we using? Because there's
the 7 year.
She's
we're doing the
50
7?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm afraid she'll just fall apart if I try to even load her in the car.
Yeah.
That's one of the tough parts.
And that's it. That's all I want to talk about today. We've exceeded my 1 hour limit, but that's good. It's good to exceed. I'd rather exceed the 1 hour limit than we sit here staring at each other going, what are we going to talk about today?
Oh, we got plenty.
We made it though. A whole show.
Without getting canceled?
So as far as we know.
As far as I know, minus the Rumble thing. Rumble's not working.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean,
Dude,
I think I'm the first long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, do you want to sell anything? Do you have any wares to peddle?
I don't, but maybe in the future I will. So definitely, hopefully you'll have me back.
Wares.
Yeah, please let us know if you have any wares you wish to peddle on our stream.
You have the coin.
Tune in Monday for the show. God, I don't want to talk about the UPS thing.
We need a graphic that, like those safety graphics. So we've gone one show since the last banning.
Days since nonsense.
Right, days since the last incident or accident.
I stole that from the chat.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's a growing thing. I mean, obviously you can't have a phenomenal show overnight because we don't have Gonky, or Wombat.
True.
I wonder if Wombat would come on the show to talk about nothing.
He'd be great to show him that video and say, "What would you do, Wombat?"
I sort of feel like that would be his forte.
Well,
I got a question for you, JD.
He would be driving a Porsche or Volkswagen. I mean, Porsche. Would we fit?
A Beetle.
You couldn't get out with that duty belt. You wouldn't be able to get out.
I wouldn't be able to get in. Yeah.
Well, hold on. I got a question for you, JD.
Good.
All right. So you're put in charge of a law enforcement agency.
There I was. Okay.
How do you fix it? You don't know what's broken, but what do you do?
Well, first and foremost, I
bet you he does know what's broken.
Probably, but
Douglas, let the man talk.
I talk to my team starting from the bottom up, figure out what's happening. I want to know the pulse. I'd start with every line officer, dispatcher, detective. I'd go line. I literally talk to everybody and say, full transparency. Tell me what's going on. Tell me how you feel. And put it all together.
Do you think they would talk to you?
I would hope so.
I mean, because you're the boss now, and they don't want to get fired. Let's say it's not unionized, so it's a right to work state.
Either way, you'd hear, obviously. Just if those that don't want to talk to you, you'd probably get, put your ear to the to the flame and hear, hey, what's really happening. I guarantee the person coming into that scenario is going to know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd start fixing it.
My theory, tell me with your vast experience if this is a good theory. It starts with training, pay, and leadership.
Yes.
And by leadership, I mean knowing that you have top cover, knowing not covering up, but support from your boss as long as you do the right thing.
Yes, to a point.
Okay.
Because you may be coming into an environment where the top cover / administration has already built an organization that, how do I say this without, an organization that's not very, I don't want to say trusted within the community. So if you're trying to fix a bad situation that it has already kind of ingrained cancer built within it, the training isn't going to fix it. you have to literally start looking at, who do I have on this department? What kind of officers do I have? And I'm going, you got to go back as deep as even to the backgrounds. And I'm talking the frontline people, your administration and your staff. How many complaints has your officers filed against your admins? Your lieutenants and your captains. Do your officers absolutely, hate them? Do they support them? Do they support their own staff? It's a big picture that you're trying to, and a big puzzle you're trying to fix. And you just got to find out where that, I hate to use the word cancer because we talked about that last week, but you have to find that issue, that one scenario that's built in, and figure out, okay, is it my frontline staff? Did we hire a bunch of people that shouldn't be here, that technically weren't qualified, or maybe had sketchy backgrounds? Because I'm talking about from experience, because I've seen this in some agencies where they're hiring people that technically at any other agency were either rejects or shouldn't have been there in the first place. Now you got to fix it from the ground up. The other scenario is, you may have great staff. You may have great officers that are absolutely 100%, hard chargers and do the job the right way. But the admin is the problem. They're the ones that are absolutely not allowing their officers, one, to do their job, but they're not supporting them. And they're looking for reasons to either get rid of them, to discipline them, or to do that heavy-handed leadership where, your team doesn't even want to come to work. So for all those reasons, it's just there's so much to that pie. You just got to figure out where the issue is. That said, you got to start with the frontline staff. You got to start talking to everybody. Hopefully they'll talk to you. Hopefully they'll open up and give you that picture.
And even as that progresses, it's going to build one way or the other. Like if anybody starts talking and then goes back and talks to the others and says, "Hey, this guy's for real," or not, it could go either way. Right.
Absolutely.
And my final. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and credibility comes with the fact that you're going to be out there and trust and all that. So if you're out there doing the job with them and putting yourself out front and doing everything that, and great leaders do, don't ask them to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. You'll build that. They'll start trusting you and they'll start supporting you. And
so my final question, JD, is please show me your calendar of quotes.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. All right. So I'm not going to give out my.
Must have more than one.
No. It's actually
every show he has a quote for the Mental Health Minute.
Yeah, who's going to do the quote for me?
Where is this derived and
quickly? Like, I mean, you're not studying them. We don't know them ahead of time.
I don't even know what I'm going to talk about the day of the show. So how are we doing this?
I don't want to let my secret out.
Okay, give us a quote of today. Just give me a quote then that I can use for my life right now.
Everything that's been experienced has been said once. Going back to quotes, it's already all been said. You just have to find somebody that's already lived it.
Mike Tyson. Okay.
It is a noteworthy skill that you have shown there.
It is quite impressive, and he's not going to reveal.
So that makes it just that much more awesome.
If I was to tell you guys, you'd be like, seriously.
Low bar. The bar has been set.
It really isn't. Low. It really isn't.
Okay.
It really isn't.
Well, listen, we did a second show. If there's desire, we might do a third show.
I figure we're probably going to do it either way.
Thanks for your Doug.
Wow.
This is what we might have to change the co-host, but
I'm a co-host. Okay,
or whatever you are.
We're not sure. We never really put it down in any formal language.
I think we're starting to get sure.
Cat wrangler.
Yeah, the cat wrangler, cat herder. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. See you Monday, and hasta pasta.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks folks.
JD.